Hey guys, Chauncey Phillips here. My video talking about my top 10 picks for my top 10 favorite Christmas movies. These are movies that I feel like I watch pretty much like every Christmas, or for the most part, these are ones I usually like to watch around Christmas time. Some of my favorite ones. The first one, though, this is one that I remember. I actually saw this one in theaters, and I actually remember seeing this movie. I've always loved this movie, and I actually love the sequel just as much. And I know the sequel is, the same movie pretty much, just set in New York. But the first movie, though, I picked is, the John Hughes film, Chris Columbus directed, Home Alone. I don't know, like I always absolutely have loved this movie, and like too, when I think about like as a kid, this is one of the movies that made me kind of paranoid of criminals and robbers. And I was always like, when I used to live in Maryland, I had like this sliding door, and I was in the basement. There's like a sliding door right near the couch where I watch TV, and I used to always be paranoid that like these Harry and Marv types, especially when I was a kid, this is mainly, I was always kind of paranoid like a Harry and Marv type, were going to be like lurking around out there, and I was going to hear them, and they were going to try and get into the sliding glass door. This movie made me so paranoid when I was a kid of criminals and robbers robbing the house. And I remember like it made me like, I'm sure it made a lot of kids like paranoid of this, but like people like them coming to my house and stealing stuff. I don't know. It always like really made me paranoid. But it's such a great movie. If you guys have not seen this one, I feel like it's a movie like everyone has to have seen. But if you guys haven't, though, it's about Kevin who gets left at home for Christmas all alone in his house, and Harry and Marv play these criminals that are trying to rob the house. They're trying to rob the house in the neighborhood, and he has to try and find a way to stop them. And this is a movie too that spawned so many movies knocking this formula off. Like, I mean, the amount of movies that kind of copied this throughout the years, movies like Remote and all kinds of dog movies. They even still make movies about like bumbling criminals. And they're usually set with like dogs now, and like a dog runs away, or they get a dog, and then like these criminals want to steal stuff in the house. And they're basically still knocking off this movie even in 2016, which is kind of insane to think that this formula, it still works though, but there's only ever been one Home Alone. It's a movie too, I feel like could never be remade. I don't think it could ever work again, have the true magic of the original one did. I don't know. If they remade it, it would be kind of insane if they got, Macaulay Culkin to play like the father, and they just got Harry and Marv, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern just to come back again and play them. Because I really don't know who else could play those roles. The next one, though, like I was saying before, this one is like the sequel to this movie, and I like this one just as much. And this is another one I kind of alternate between these, and like some Christmases or holiday times I watch, Home Alone 1, and other ones I watch Home Alone 2. But this one I love just as much, and this is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Another one I always like. I don't know if I ever got to go to the place, because like Duncan's Toy Chest was actually the FAO Schwartz in New York. And I don't know if I ever got to go to that location or not. I remember, though, like, I think they also filmed Big in that same... I don't know if that's the same one. I think the front was FAO Schwartz or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's how it was. I don't know if the inside was or not. But this is basically, Kevin's character ends up getting, on the wrong airplane, and he goes to New York instead of Florida, and it's him in New York in his own vices, messing around, screwing around, happy away from his family. Of course, though, Harry and Marv end up out there, and he's like having to deal with them because they're planning on robbing this toy store. But like the stuff in this, like is just amazing. Him stuff going to the hotel and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I just really love this movie. The next one is one that I remember when I first saw this in theaters. I've always loved this. One of my regrets is not buying the toy they made of this in Walmart. I remembered seeing this too, and it was actually cheap then. Now it's like really, really valuable and really hard to find. You never see them. And I regret not buying them. Because like I said, I had it in my hand and I didn't get it. And this is, Jingle All the Way. And this is one of those movies, too. I remember exactly where I saw this in this mall that, was demolished a couple of years after. I think it was the Golden Ring Mall. You guys can look it up. And I don't know if you'll find any pictures of this one, but like for some reason, I don't know if you guys are ever the same way. Like I can remember like certain movies exactly where I saw them and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. It's kind of weird though when I think of this movie and the Indian in the Cupboard, and a couple ones, I always think of that mall that I always loved that was torn down. And now I think it's just a big Walmart and a bunch of weird stuff in there. And if you ever saw my old vlogs, if you ever saw like Mega Media Exchange and Pre-Played and some of those, that was where this was filmed. I know it's kind of a weird story, but I don't know. I just always remember that when I think of this movie. But the Jingle All the Way movie, has Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad, and it's basically though about this hot toy everybody wants, which is the Turbo Man doll, and Arnold Schwarzenegger doesn't buy it till last minute, and he has to, he waited till last minute to try and get it, and the toy's sold out everywhere. See, this movie now, you couldn't really do this movie now because now you could go on eBay, and it wouldn't be like it was then to try and get it, because now you just go, oh, I'll get it on eBay, I'll get it on ToysRUs.com, whatever, I'll get it from some seller, I'll just pay more money. But this one, he was trying to go to the stores, and he really only had 1 minute, last minute to get it, and it was like, it just wouldn't work now, but it's just such a great, ridiculous film. The next one is set, in Christmas time, and I don't even know if it's like totally, fully Christmas, but it always feels Christmassy to me, and that's, Gremlins. And I actually even think of the second one as sort of Christmassy, even though it isn't really. I don't think it really was, but I always kind of think of it as. But this movie, I always love this movie. And I kind of juggle between which one I like the best. I think, though, looking at it now, the first movie really is the best movie. It holds up the most. The second one has a lot of dated aspects to it, but I did really love the building stuff to this one. I'm always a huge fan of Phoebe Cates, too. So, I don't know. I just always love this one. One of the early, Corey Feldman films as well. This is one I feel like kind of doesn't get talked about as much as some other ones. And this is another one that I love to watch all the time. And this is, the Bill Murray film Scrooged. And this is basically the story about the guy who had all the money and everything for him, but he was mean to everybody. And it's kind of him showing him his life of like, the death comes to him and all that kind of stuff, and showing him what he'd be like if he died and stuff. And like I said, this is kind of like, I really feel like an underrated movie. You just don't hear about this one as much as other ones. This one, I always love this film. I saw this movie so many times. I've seen this movie in theaters, I think at least 2 times when they brought the film back. The music in this is great, and this is, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, which, a lot of people think Tim Burton directed this movie. It's always one of those things, people think he actually directed this one. He actually, the only produced this film and, came up with a concept of the look of the characters and things like that. That's why it has his vibe. But I don't think at this point he kind of wanted to take on directing stop motion. He did come on and do stop motion, though, with The Corpse Bride, but Henry Selick, who, directed James and the Giant Peach, and he also directed Monkey Bone, which a lot of people didn't really dislike that movie, but I always kind of like that one. He, directed this film. This is basically Jack Skellington, who lives in Christmas town. I mean, in where it's Halloween all the time, and he discovers through the door these worlds that he can go to, and he goes to Christmas Land, and he really wants to have Christmas, and he tries to, steal Santa and steal everything and have his own Christmas, in Halloween Town. It's just such a great movie. Always one that I love to come back and watch. This is one that I think is the ultimate Christmas film, and the one that I would have put in this list as one of the top 10, or I've talked about it as well, was Christmas Story, and I don't know where it is. I don't know if I ever actually bought a Blu-ray of it, because I feel like I watched that movie so many times on TV. I kind of almost feel like I've seen it enough for the rest of my life in a weird way. There's how there's certain movies, if you've seen it so many times, you kind of don't need to see it again. And like that's one of those ones that I don't like to watch as much anymore because I saw it so many times. But I definitely need to buy it. I really thought I had a Blu-ray of it, but I looked through it. I don't know if it got put away somewhere else. I moved it down on the ground somewhere or something. But it was A Christmas Story. But this one, though, is one that I always go back and watch. I actually saw this in theaters because they had like a really limited, like a one-night only thing in the one theater I go to when they were testing out the movie theater, like, just sort of testing and operations and stuff, and they played this as one of the films. This one is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. My favorite National Lampoon's movie still is National Lampoon's Vacation, but Christmas Vacation, though, is probably the second one. But as Christmas movies, this is probably my top Christmas movie. Probably maybe Home Alone and then this, but this one is really good. And it's basically though about Chevy Chase, who's Clark Griswold, and his family is coming to hit all of his relatives and stuff for Christmas, and he's trying to like decorate the house with all these lights, and he's having all these kind of problems, and the family is giving him all kind of issues, and they have all kind of problems, and Randy Quaid is in there as cousin Eddie, and it's just ridiculous. It's just such a fun movie. Always, like I said, one of those ones you always can go back and watch. This is one that I feel like not everybody like absolutely loves this movie, but I do. I've always loved these movies, and this is Tim Allen and the Santa Claus. I don't like the sequels that much. The second one was okay. The third one kind of got silly. Like, I don't know, it just sort of felt a little silly to me. The first movie, though, the first original Santa Claus, is one of those movies when I think of Christmas a lot that always comes to me, like, as one I always think of. And the next one is one that, like, for some reason, I think is probably one of the best Christmas movies that kind of no one talks about, but it's not really like a perfect movie. But I find myself around holidays, like around Christmas time, thinking about this movie so much. I don't know why, but it's just like I like the way the movie flows and everything about this movie. And it's probably even though Santa Claus is probably a better movie, I think this is my favorite Tim Allen movie. I don't know. I really like this movie, and I know it's not a great movie, but I always like watching this one. This is Christmas with the Kranks. And this is basically about Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis, whose daughter moves out because she's going away to college, and they always would have like these big Christmas parties, and they decorate their house and put Frosty the Snowman on the roof, and they were always kind of like the pillar of Christmas, and the whole town kind of like relied on them to be all in the Christmas spirit and everything. But what happens though is when the daughter goes away to college, they're like, well, because she said she's like has it with her boyfriend and she's not going to be able to come home for Christmas, so they both go. Tim Allen comes up with the idea of, you know what, we're not going to have Christmas then. I'd like to go on a cruise and forget about the whole thing. And they don't want to put anything on the roof. They don't want to put up any lights, and they're getting in a huge arguments with the whole neighborhood. And they're screaming at them and getting mad at them, like saying, "Put Frosty on the roof." And the actor who played Dewey in Malcolm in the Middle was in this one. I don't know. I like this one. I liked all the weird stuff that happens. Tim Allen when he's getting like Botox injections and getting a tan in the mall, and I don't know. It's just, for some reason this movie is like the ultimate Christmas movie I think of all the time. I guess, and it needs a Blu-ray release really bad. Let me know what you guys think of this movie. But for some reason, I don't know what it is about this movie. I love this movie. And the last one here. It's one that I've been watching since I was a little child. This is even before. I think this is before. I think before or right around the same time. Home Alone. This is Ernest Saves Christmas. This is one of the Ernest ones that Disney released that still does not have a Blu-ray release, which is crazy because Scared Stupid, goes to jail, and goes to camp are all on Blu-ray that Mill Creek put out, but there's still no Blu-ray of this one. I'm hoping that somebody like Shout Factory, like on the Select line or something, puts this out, and because you never really get it. I've never really seen any interviews with John Cherry, who directed these movies. It'd be kind of cool to get a commentary with him and just like some behind the scenes footage if he has it and stuff like that, because that's like kind of rare, anything like that with Ernest behind the scenes, interviews with him talking about Jim Varney. You just don't hear any of that kind of stuff, and this would definitely be kind of a cool release I could see them doing. But this is the one with Ernest, and he has to help Santa deliver the gifts and stuff. I have not watched this in a long time. This is one I'm going to definitely be watching this holiday season. Very soon I'll be watching this one. And pretty much all, like, the ones of this that I know I'm going to be watching again is this one, this year, Jingle All the Way, and Christmas with the Kranks is one of the ones I have not seen quite a bit and want to definitely watch again. But anyway, though, guys, below, let me know what some of your favorite Christmas films to watch are around this season. Anyway, though, guys, thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.